and it is so freaking cute. Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde, I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back, I really appreciate it. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you one finished project, one half finished project, and then 2 whips, 3 whips, 3.5 whips. And no acquisitions, because I've already had a lot of acquisitions over the past few weeks, so no acquisitions this time. I am wearing my finished object, which I'll get to in a moment, but before I do, I just want to say I didn't film a podcast for the last 2-3 weeks, so that's maybe why I've got so much progress, but also I haven't been knitting this past week because I'm starting to get a little bit of pain in my upper back, so I'm trying to slow down and not hurt myself so that I don't knit for more than a month, which is what happened last time. So I'm taking it a bit slow. Because of that, I don't know what that means in terms of upload in the coming weeks, but rest assured I do have a few video ideas of things that I was already planning on filming over the next couple of weeks that don't require me actually knitting, so we'll see. But let's talk about my finished object. I'm wearing my Esther Sweater by PetiteKnit. This is a sweater pattern that I fell in love with when it first came out, and I bought yarn for it over a year ago, and I was so excited to finally cast it on this fall, and unfortunately I finished this and now it's actually snowing, so didn't really come, like my vision didn't really come true in terms of like being outside in the fall with the full colors and my beautiful sweater, but it's still absolutely gorgeous, and you know, it is what it is. I knitted this in a hand-dyed yarn by Olivia and Fibers called Organic DK. I do have a few bits left over. I've got about 45 grams left of the Organic DK in the colorway Chestnut, which I paired with her Suri Silk or Suri Lace, don't remember what it's called, in the colorway Chestnut as well, and I've got 40 grams left. So I do have a bit left over. Really happy with the length of the sleeves. I was debating adding half a motif on the sleeve, or like finish a motif technically, but I'm really glad I didn't, because they ended up being quite long. I think for me they are the perfect length. Ooh, the sun is shining now. For me, I think the perfect length, they hit really where I like them to. So I'm really happy with that decision. I think for the body, I could have maybe done half a motif more, and that means that the motif doesn't end exactly the same on the sleeves than on the body, but I really like the length as well, especially when I wear high-waisted pants, especially because I'm quite short. I could have gone longer, which is what Petit did. I think I did half a motif less than she did on the body. I'm really happy with what I chose to do. The one thing I'm not that happy about is the neckline is a little bit too wide for my liking. I like it to cinch in a little bit. I tried adding an elastic, but I don't think maybe I should have tightened it a bit more, or maybe it just doesn't work for this, I don't know. But I mean, I'm not too mad about it, it's just I really like a more cinched in neckline, but I think this one really works as well. I think this may be due to the fact that the original pattern has a mock neck, but she does have instructions in her pattern to, if you want a folded down neckline like I did, so I kind of assumed that it would take into account that for the mock neck, I guess the neckline would have been wider, and so when I read the instructions for the folded down collar, I assumed that she would, you know, make it, I guess, a bit longer so that it's more cinched in. It's not. I'm not sure why, because I'm pretty sure I did pick up the exact number of stitches that I was supposed to for my size, but anyways, that's what it is. So let's talk about the specs of this project. I cast this on the 1st of September and I finished it on the 11th of November, so it took me about 71 days. Now for the first 3 weeks I didn't actually knit on it at all. I think I cast it on, knitted on it for a day or two, and then I went back to other projects that were more important priority. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, still about maybe, let's say, 50 days really of knitting. And then the yarn cost me quite a bit of money because this is hand-dyed yarn. I originally purchased the Suri silk on its own, and I wanted to try to pair it with a, you know, not store-bought, commercial yarn brand, fingering weight or DK weight yarn, but I couldn't find a color that really paired well with this, at least in stores, and online it's a little bit tricky to get the right colorway. So I ended up biting the bullet and buying the organic DK a couple of months later. So this was basically, I think, custom ordered on her website. You can buy all of her colorways as long as you order at least 3 skeins of one. So that's what I did. So yeah, it ended up being pretty pricey. So the Suri silk, I bought 4 skeins and that cost me 98 euros. And then the organic DK was 5 skeins and that was 120 euros. I think it rounds up to about 217 euros. I'll put it on the screen. I'm gonna have to do something about this. It's a little bit better, apologies. The pattern price was 6.55 euros, and so the total cost of this project was 224 euros. Now that's really expensive. I honestly wouldn't necessarily recommend it in a way because yeah, it's very pricey, but this is stunning yarn. This is beyond soft. Like, I feel like I'm in a cloud when I wear it. I really love it. I think this is something that I could get around to doing maybe once a year or maybe once every 2 years, to like buy a full sweater quantity of hand-dyed yarn that's really quite special. I'm in love with the color. I know I'm not gonna get bored of this color. I'm not gonna get bored of this type of sweater because it's a drop shoulder. It's got texture, but because of this kind of fuzzy yarn, it's not that visible. But also, you know, I feel like it's pretty versatile. It's not too trendy that I won't feel like wearing it in a year, but it's not too traditional that, again, I might get bored of it. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I really enjoyed the process of this. However, it is not tricky, but you do have to pay attention to it a little bit to get the motif right. I did use stitch markers for that to make sure I was paying enough attention at the right places. But once you knit in the round and with those stitch markers, it was pretty mindless at that point. It's got moss stitch on the sleeves, on the like bottom of the sleeves, then the top part, this is tricky to show, the top part is the motif that's on the body as well. And you do actually, the decrease for the sleeve is quite interesting. I think I've never seen it for a sleeve. It's the central double decrease, I think it's called, the CDD, which is what you do usually on a V-neck neckline to make sure that the V is centered. You do decreases this way, and this is what you do as well on the bottom of the sleeve. And so it's a little bit visible, but it's pretty seamless, and I think it looks really good. I mean, this is like the knit stitch that you do, so that you've got basically the same vertical line as here on the body, and you decrease around it. But I feel like the decreases are pretty hidden, so I really enjoyed that. So hopefully I haven't forgotten to say anything about this pattern. I really recommend it. I know not everyone is a fan of this pattern in particular by PetiteKnit. I do think some things were not the clearest, and I do recommend my modification that I did so that this vertical line lined up. Oh, I didn't show you, but you can see, hopefully, I'll take B-rolls, that it really lines up really well. So I did that thanks to my friend Ali, who had knitted the Esther jacket and recommended me to do that. So what I did is, once I had finished the back panel, I put 2 stitches on hold, basically the ones just before the increase, so the one that do the vertical line. I put these on hold, and once I picked up for the stitches on the sleeve, I picked up stitches around those 2 stitches that were on a stitch marker to hold. I just basically put those stitches on the needles as though I had picked them up, I guess, and then I picked up around it. So I did have to do a little bit of math to figure out, because of the motif and then the number of stitches you need for the most stitch you need to pick up around those 2 stitches, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I will put out a project vlog next week on this project, so maybe it'll be clearer in that project vlog because I've got some footage of me doing that. Anyways, I think that's about all I wanted to say for this knitting project. I'm in love. I've been wearing it a ton because I finished it this couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it feels like a cloud. It's really cozy. Let's move on to my half finished objects / whip, and it is so freaking cute. I love it. Look at the little fish. This is the Kitten Mittens by Florence Miller. These are my first pair of colorwork mittens, and I'm absolutely in love. I think they're so freaking cute. I am knitting this in, this is going to be tricky, but I'm knitting this in Le Petit Lambswool by Bûches in the colorway Burgundy Grey and Ecru, held with Soft Silk Mohair by Knitting for Olive in the colorway Cream, and Isager Mohair in the colorway 36, I think. But as always, everything will be on the screen and down below in the description. The Le Petit Lambswool I won in a giveaway, and the Isager Silk Mohair was left over from a sponsored test knit. But I love them. I think they are the perfect size as well for my hand. But I do have pretty big hands, so I know some people on my Instagram post said that they were a bit too big for them, but I love them. I am knitting them on 3.5mm needles and 3mm needles instead of 2.5 and 3mm needles, just FYI. But also I'm using mohair, and that's not in the pattern. You're supposed to hold a fingering weight single. The chart is really good. The pattern is quite clear. The one thing I wasn't clear on is, and I think you can see because it's not the knit test, is how to finish off on the top here. So it just said something like pull the yarn through, and I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I've never done colorwork mittens, so I wasn't quite sure. So I did kitchen stitch, and obviously that looks absolutely rubbish. So I've since spoken to friends who have knitted quite a few colorwork mittens since then, and honestly I should have talked to them before I did the kitchen stitching, but that's my bad. So I'm going to do the second mitten how they suggested, which I'll tell you about once I've done it, and I'll see how that looks, and then I'll undo those binds off, I guess, and do it that way as well, if that looks neater, which I think it definitely will. I do have some colorwork like mistakes, like especially here you can see I've kind of messed up, and here as well, but it's not too obvious. I think it's fine, and I'm so happy with them. And it's snowing, as I told you guys, and so I'm really eager to do the second one so that I can wear them, because it's really starting to get quite cold. So I've just cast on last night, so I don't have that much to show, but yeah, I've cast on the second one, and hopefully I can get working on it so that I can wear it whilst it's, you know, snowy and cold and wintry. But that's, I think, all I wanted to say on that project. So let's move on to my second whip. I have got 2 knit gifts on my needles, and the first one is the November vest by PetiteKnit, which I am knitting in Gilliatt by Natura in the colorway Bleue. This is 100% wool, and it is, I think, worsted weight yarn. So that's not the recommended yarn for this pattern. I think it's supposed to be DK, but because I'm quite a tight knitter and I wanted to use this yarn in particular because I'm knitting this for my grandmother, who's quite sensitive to some types of wool yarns, so I let her touch this and feel it against her skin, and I was kind of like discreetly asking her if she was liking this yarn, if it was good for her skin, and she said it felt quite soft. So I decided to use this yarn to make sure hopefully that she can wear this because she doesn't know I'm knitting this for her. And this is the progress I've got. So I think last time I was on the back panel, I think I had just finished the increases on the back panel. I'm now on the left shoulder. I was hoping to have this joined in the round by now, but as I said, I had to take a little bit of a knitting break, and this one in particular hurts my wrist a little bit, so trying to take it slowly. Hopefully I can still get it finished by Christmas. We'll see. And yeah, it looks really tiny because I'm knitting this in the size extra large, but I think hopefully we'll be fine. It's actually quite funny because the construction is pretty different from the PetiteKnit cardigan by PetiteKnit, which is also a brioche construction with the button band knitted as you go, but yeah, it's a little bit different. So you start off at the back, you shape the back, or you start off with this kind of double knitting panel, and then you knit this back panel with those increases down up until a certain point, and then you knit back and forth for a bit, and then you start shaping with increases for the underarm, which isn't what you do for the knit. You don't have any underarm shaping, I don't think. And then you pick up for the shoulder, as you can see here, because she doesn't start this one with the Judithmatic cast on, you can kind of tell in the double knitting that you have to pick up stitches on this side. And then the front panel is actually really quite tiny compared to the PetiteKnit cardigan, because you have some decreases. So you can see here you decrease, then you knit a bit back and forth, and then you start shaping with increases for the v-neck, and then you add those armhole increases again. And then for the left panel, you don't have that line in the double knitting because you had this on hold, and so it looks definitely neater. And then you do the same type of shaping, and I'm starting the increases for the v-neck. I think I've just got 1 or 2 increases for now, so it's taking a bit because it's brioche, but I am knitting this on 4.5mm needles instead of, I think, 3.5 or 4. I don't remember what the pattern said. I am hoping to join in the round and then knit on the body over the next few weeks. And I mean, I'm gonna have to do the pockets because my grandmother loves pockets, so I'm gonna do that. And I also want to add buttons. This pattern doesn't have any button instructions, so I'm gonna follow the instructions from the PetiteKnit cardigan basically, and I'm gonna start adding buttonholes once I've joined in the round, or under the arms, I guess, because you don't join in the round because it's a vest, like a cardigan vest. I think also maybe once I've joined in the round or under the arms, once I've knitted maybe 2 centimeters of the body, I'm gonna do the double knitting around the armholes. So hopefully I can just knit in around pretty mindlessly after that, and then I'll have to attach the pockets. And yeah, we're almost at the end of November, so I don't actually have that much time left, so we'll see how that goes. Hi, this is actually 2 days later. I was editing this video and I realized that the audio cut off. I am going to be refilming talking about my 2 last whips, so hopefully I don't miss anything. I apologize if I do. Also, obviously, the lighting has changed. I'm not wearing any makeup. I am still wearing my Esther sweater because I wanted some kind of continuity with this video, but I unfortunately don't have time this week to refilm it entirely because I'm going away on a work trip this week, and so yeah, this is what we're getting. I hope it's okay. So let's talk about my Christmas sweater. So my Christmas sweater this year is this is my first year knitting a Christmas sweater. Now it's about the end of November, so I'm definitely not going to get around finishing it before Christmas, but it's more of a like Christmas/winter sweater. I didn't want a full-on Christmas sweater this year because the amount of time it takes me to knit something, I want to get wear out of it more than a month a year. So hopefully for this one it'll be pretty versatile for me to wear during the entire winter season and maybe even at other points during the year. So I am knitting the Harriet Sweater by Lene, Holme, Samsoe. This is I think it's called a contiguous shoulder construction. I'm blanking on the name, but I think that's what it is. And it's got colorwork around the bust basically, and a little bit over the body. And so because it's a contiguous shoulder construction, you knit the colorwork in and around, which is nice. And it's my first time doing this type of construction, so it's a little bit not challenging, just different, but it's nice. So the yarn that I'm using for this project are Knitting for Olive Merino and Soft Silk Mohair in the colorways Bordeaux and Cream. And for this sweater you can use 3 colors. Actually, she knit I think 2 samples with 3 colors, so you have 2 contrast colors, but I'm only using 2, and I think in one of her sample pictures she's only used 2 as well. That's just what I wanted. I really wanted this burgundy and white combo and I'm obsessed with it. So as a reminder, I can show you my swatch. This is one of the colorwork charts, and this is where I'm at. And it's a little bit tricky to show, but I will talk you through a little bit of the constructions. I don't have as much progress as I would have liked, but as I said, I couldn't really be knitting this week, and it is knit on 4mm needles. I'm using the recommended needle size, so 4mm for the stockinette. And then for the colorwork I'll be using 4.5mm needles, but I'm knitting size small/medium, so that's the 3rd size in the pattern, to hopefully get around 30 cm of positive ease. The pattern is meant to have around 40 cm of positive ease for most sizes, but I don't want as much positive ease as is recommended. So this is where I'm at. And basically what you do is that you cast on stitches for the back neck, and then you do some German short for shaping, then you just knit the back panel flat, and it's quite a bit shorter than, you know, on the drop shoulder. Once you've done a certain amount of centimeters, you move on to picking up stitches for one shoulder. You shape it with increases for the neckline, and then you do the same thing for the other shoulder, and once that's done you join the 2 front panels together under the neckline here. And then once you've reached a certain amount of centimeters, you join the back and the front panels together by picking up stitches on these sides, and then you start shaping with raglan increases. So hopefully you can see that. And once you've done a couple of raglan increases, you start the colorwork chart. So hopefully that should be started pretty soon. But because of my pain, we don't know exactly when. But I'm excited to get started on the colorwork because I just think that's always so much fun and so potato chippy. I can show you a little bit what it looks like. Oh, this is so tangled. I've got to be careful of the mic, but that is about what it's looking like. So I think the drop on the shoulder will be a little bit higher up on my end than on her sample pictures, but again, I think that's because I'm looking for less positivities than she has. I think that's about all I want to say on this one, so let's move on to my final whip, which is another gift knit. And because I filmed this 2 days ago and it was the weekend, and that was the only project I could kind of work on that wasn't too painful, I've got more progress on this than I had in the podcast I filmed on Saturday, but not that much. But yeah, I could knit on it like maybe 15-30 minutes, then I had to take a 2-hour break, then I could knit on it for 30 minutes, and then I had to take a 5-hour break, so you know, not that much progress, unfortunately. But I mean, at least I think this one I can get it done by the time I'm supposed to have it done, so that's good. So if you've seen my latest video, which was a day in my life type of vlog, I was casting on the Sophie Hood by PetiteKnit, which I am knitting this time because I knitted it earlier this year for myself, but this time I'm using Snapnug by Camarose in my colorway Ask Gra or 7310. And it's this really pretty Chestnut yarn. And I'm not a fan of greys usually, but I think this one is quite pretty. I kind of enjoy it. And yeah, I knitted one for myself earlier this year and I love it. I knitted mine in Ecru Cashmere Vintage by Gilliatt Garn in a like dark brown colorway, and it's actually kind of funny to see the difference in the two, so I'll try, hopefully once I finish this one, I can do a little bit of a comparison of the two for you guys, just because it's a different type of yarn. Mine, I was kind of lazy and my hood is not as deep as it should be. I realized that when I was taking measurements last week. So, you know, but for this one I'm trying to stay true to the pattern. So I'm knitting size medium using 5.5mm needles, so that's a half needle size up from what the pattern recommends, because I'm a tight knitter. And this is going to be a bit tricky to show, but I have started the hood part, which you can see here. And I'm on like I'm basically halfway through the pattern because I'm starting the increases to shape the other side of the hood. So I'm halfway through the pattern, which is good, and you can see it's pretty long. I've got some ends to weave in still, but I've weaved in some of them already. And yeah, I think this will definitely be a little bit bigger than the one I made for myself, which is good. And I have bought 5 skeins and I'm on the 3rd one, so I think I'll definitely have a little bit left over, but hopefully not too much. I'm really enjoying this project because it's quite mindless. I mean, you do have to pay a little bit of attention with the increases and decreases, especially around the hood part, but it's just knit stitches and it's on pretty big needles, so it's growing quite quickly and it doesn't hurt my arm too much compared to the November vest, for example, which, because it's brioche, it does hurt me a bit, so I've had to unfortunately put pose on this one. So yeah, but I'm loving this project. And yeah, if you're curious about why I chose this pattern instead of other hood patterns, I've talked about this in my latest vlog, so I'll link it above if you're curious. But yeah, that's it for me. As I said, I don't think there'll be a podcast pretty soon because, I mean, I'm not making much progress on anything at the moment. Hopefully I can get back to knitting like sort of regularly this week, but obviously I don't want to hurt myself too much, so remember to take breaks, remember to stretch. I'm doing some exercises so that hopefully I will get better soon, but I will have videos up for you in the coming weeks. Despite my pain, I'll have a winter knitting plans video because
I've basically concluded almost all of my fall knitting plans, so I want to change my mood board on my laptop, and so I think I need to film that because we do that mood boarding together. And then I think I'll be filming my everything I knit in 2025 videos, because I mean I'm not gonna get anything else finished I think before the end of the year, except for maybe the Sophie Hood, but that'll be probably it. So if you have any videos that you want me to film, let me know in the comments, especially like around next year. If you have any sort of videos that you prefer watching, the vlogs, be it project vlogs or like week in my life, a day in my life, whatever you guys like, let me know. I'm already starting to plan the videos for next year, so it's always helpful to know what you guys enjoy. So be it podcasts, vlogs, pattern roundup, tier ranking stuff, I don't know, let me know. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. As always, I would love to hear what you've been knitting on whilst watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I just realized the mic wasn't plugged in, so the sound won't be as crisp as usual. I apologize for that. This is one of those weeks. So let me know how your week is going, because mine is not going really well apparently.